Yo, what's good? Yo. So welcome to probably was gonna be the most generic video ever on my channel, a deck profile. Yeah, so I just wanted to share my list and my experience from the LCS 3v3. Obviously, it's not gonna be showing the topping list because my name was nowhere near top 16, but I just had a really cool deck, and I just want to share the rogue ideas, the kind of theory behind it, so you can use it and implement it in your own strategies in the future. Now, obviously, before we get started, shoutouts to my team. It's the reason I was in the fucking thing. So the team was the Ponchiks, which is a sick name if you speak Russian. But yeah, Alessandro and Ben, the latter of whom was actually on the Puncher Crew podcast. Be sure to check that one out. It's pretty sick. But yeah, the final run for us as a team was 2-3 drop. It was shit. It was absolute garbage. But hey, we had some theory. Obviously, it didn't work out too well, but like still all overall, solid event. You play with your friends, right? What's better than that? But yeah, let's hop right into the list. So starting off, as you can tell, I played played magical muskets with an Eldritch engine. Now, probably half of you might be watching and saying, "Yeah, rogue my ass, you got Eldritch in there." I go, you might have a solid point. But the muskets are actually really sick. So the idea behind this, right? What's really cool about muskets is that their back row strategy that plays their back row from their hand, right? And so, being able to just keep all your resources in hand, not lose to cards like Twister, Lightning Storm, sorry, not Twister, the fucking Harpies, all those cards, and just keeping everything in hand. And then the cards you set are the Eldritch cards, like they just bring themselves back anyway. So I dodged a huge thing that a lot of backward decks have a hard time dealing with, which was obviously just incredible. And then the cards themselves were fucking broken in the current meta. So the whole reason I decided to play this strategy in the first place is because of this card, right? Magical Musket Dancing Needle. This card is fucking insane, man. So all of the musket cards require that you control a musket, and then all the musket monsters allow you to activate the musket cards from hand. And, obviously each one doing a different thing. Now this one, you can target up to 3 cards in any graveyard and use it to banish them. Now in a meta where all the decks rely on the graveyard, it sounds pretty good, right? And especially at the time I had this idea, it's when Drytron was still making Vanities boards, so I was thinking, it's great because even if I go second, what's Vanities doing? I'm just normal summoning my musket. Nice board, bro. So, yeah, obviously anything that started summoning ultimateness, that was a little rough, but as long as I have a musket, I just banish their entire grave, the whole point of this deck was look at my opponent's graveyard and making sure they didn't have one. I look at them and go, nice graveyard, bro, let me take that from you. That was the whole idea with this deck, right? And the Eldritch engine complemented nice because it had its own dancing needle, only for one though, so shit, right? But yeah, it had a Aquaria, which is really cool. And so obviously for the muskets, you play 3 Casper and 3 Starfire. They're your best ones. Casper is the one you always want to see. Starfire gets you to Casper, and then your Casper just gets you 2 Dancing Needle. Like that's the whole premise around this deck. And then it had really good utility cards like Desperado, which just pops a card, last time negates any spell trap. Cross Dom just negates, and it's really cool in the Drytron matchup, a niche application. So if they want to add the equip spell back, and say you don't have access to Dancing Needle for whatever reason, alright, and they go the ritual spell from grave, target their Drytron to lose 1,000. You can just chain this because it changes attack to 0. So, and because it didn't lose 1,000 attack, they're not able to get it back. So it was really cool niche scenarios like that, right? And obviously another issue with muskets is that they're small. They can't get over a Garnet on their own. So so with this kind of card, it can help you get over those kind of cards. And then yeah, so you had the 3 Caspar, 3 Starfire. They're just your best. Like Caspar or Starfire, like Starfire plus L-Line is the best. Like if there is a two-card combo that you always want to see, it's Starfire plus Outland. Like the plus off that is insane. And then one Dock and one Calamity. It's essentially for like, the grind, essentially, right? Just to add back cards. Like Dock was definitely better than Calamities. Calamities was it really you would only play for double or nothing, but I don't play because if you think about it, you either can't special summon or everything's in defense, so nobody's resolving double or nothing. And but it's really good because it's another name to summon off max, and it's got pretty decent effect, right? It's Starfire but for the graveyard, right? Because Starfire summons from deck and then Calamity summons from graveyard, so it's pretty good. And then Dog just adds any musket card from grave back to your hand, so it's really good for recurring back your resources, right? So it's 8 of them, I think. So obviously, another issue with muskets is that you draw the spell and traps, but not the muskets. And so, but with 8 of them, I think it's about 65%. I don't remember the exact math, but it's around 2/3 of all your games. You're gonna open a musket, right? And then the nice thing is, even if they're dead for like a ridiculous amount of time, just summon them with Lord. It becomes free fodder, right? So yeah, and that's what was really nice about this deck. It kind of fixed its own issues that each engine had, because the LCS engine has a lot of problems, right? So yeah, that's the musket engine. There's a few other ones, but obviously these were the best. You don't want to play too many. Well, not too many, even though it's like a quarter of my deck, but you just want to play the best ones, which is Dancing Needle. And yeah, like that's really it. It was just really good, against Drytron. They do whatever, banish their whole graveyard, virtual world, Desperado to pop whatever they target. It was really just supposed to be like an anti-meta deck, right? But not the general like Inspector Board and Skill Drain and shit. Then moving on to Eldritch Engine. This part's really standard. It's just 3 Outland, 2 Lord, 3 Sanguine, 3 Conch, and then 2 Hakuero. The only really real input I can give on the Eldritch Engine is why I played 2 Hakuero instead of 3. Reason is, you play triple Needle and double Hakuero, you have so much banishing power. And I was always looking for a card to cut, and honestly, like, I could have done with 2 Cross Down. Like, it's just kind of dead a lot of the time, not gonna lie. It's just really nice to have in hand when they, for example, against Drytron, they go Nova, because that one summons an attack, and they go to attack your musket, you can just Cross Down. That was honestly its best application. It was like a Konkiri for the muskets, essentially. And then double Hakuero. The third one never really came up, to be honest. As long as you manage your resources properly, every game, like all of them should be enough. Like, obviously, making rank 5 plays with this is insane. When it gets to resolve, like, it's always really good like that. And then, yeah, I think the third one really wasn't necessary. I'm glad I didn't play. And then, yeah, and then triple Ash. It's the only hand trap I played. Honestly, I didn't feel like hand trap's really that necessary in this format, and especially with the kind of deck I had. And then, the biggest thing was Red Eyes Fusion, right? Like, this deck really struggles dealing with Dragoon, and so Ash was not only a way to stop fusion, but Ash is just overall so generically powerful. Right? There's no reason not to play, right? And then the one Call by the Grave. Again, this deck, the whole premise is just to banish your opponent's graveyard, take away their resources like that, and make sure they can't play it. And then also, when you go for Extrav and they Ash, it's nice to have the Call by. Then yeah, triple Extrav. You play triple of your most important guys, and you rarely ever banish them. And so like there's no reason not to, right? Like, the biggest confliction is that Extravagance can only be activated in the main phase, so because of that, you're not able to trigger your muskets. Like, that's really the only unfortunate part. Besides from that, there's no drawbacks whatsoever. And then triple droplets, because like I said, same idea with Ash. Dragoon is a fucking bitch to deal with, and then not only does it deal with Dragoon, but it has application against Virtual World as well, because you're playing a heavy trap lineup. They won't be able to chain Chuche to the Calamities, which is really good because then you're able to pop off, right? But even if that's what's great, right? Even if they resolve Calamities, whatever, I'll just normal summon and pass. I'll play on your turn. It's no big deal, right? And then, yeah, so it stops that. Obviously, breaks drag Trombores. You know, it's like droplets. Like, you know what it does. And then the one upstart. Yeah, by the way, I'm playing upstart with 41 cards. Yeah. So, hey, idea was, you know, it's a free spell to activate under the muskets. That's it. And I'm still playing, you know, 40 cards. And it's like a free side out. So, you know, if you're having a hard time grasping, because I know people who still talk shit about it, it's like Striker when you played over 40 cards and you still played Upstart. It's a free spell engrave, so it's a free card off a musket, you know? Yeah, so overall, that's the main deck. Now, what's really good about the Eldritch engine is that another issue, right? Imagine a lot of issues with this. The big issue the muskets had was, you know, say you summon Caspar and you pass, right? Your opponent plays, you activate a musket card under Caspar, you know, they play through it, and then whatever you search off Caspar, you use again. But Caspar is once per turn, and so what happens after that, right? And then where do you go from there? And so, you know, after a while, you just exhaust your resources, and then you're just left with the Caspar. Like, where the fuck are your cards to trigger him, right? And that's where the Eldritch engine comes in, right? You activate them, and then when you go to banish them, you just set whatever you want in the column underneath your muskets. So you're always plussing. Like, I've never had a turn where my muskets weren't giving me some sort of advantage. Like, that's what's incredible about this deck, right? And then also because they're small, Lord isn't, right? So if there's a garden, you just summon Lord and kill it. Like, it's really, really good. And then, yeah, like that was really the biggest synergy, right? Like, Dancing Needle is insane this format. Eldritch is a really good support engine for this. Why not put the two together, right? And then like, when you open Starfire plus L-Line, you just cream your pants, right? That's the dream combo. And that's, you know, overall how you really want to play the deck. Summon a guy, resolve him, gain some advantage, and go. Right, like obviously, this deck isn't meant to kill you. You just go for, like, that's what's nice. A lot of musket variants, as of late, especially, they were very heavy going second builds, right? And then, what's nice about this is it was able to go first and actually apply pressure this way, and then on the next turn you just go max and you kill them. Like, resolving max is insane. You know, like the musket engine gives the, you know, like a control trap engine, the control trap deck overall, it's just such a powerful push. Like, one card can give you like 3 or 4 cards. It's insane, right? So yeah, that's it for the deck. Any changes I would make would, like, honestly cut a cross down, maybe a second needle. I have breakdown these. The musket lineup was like, yeah, it was pretty good. I wouldn't change that. The LH engine was perfect. Yeah, like overall, solid deck. And then over onto the side deck, I had a second last stand, right? So when you do play against any Eldritch variants, you know, the mirror, right? And then any other back row line deck, like even against Virtual World is pretty good. You just sign in the second one, take out Krasdom. And then triple Nibiru, it's okay, honestly. It was really meant for rogue decks, which I didn't play any. It was all meta. And I mean, I guess played against Shadal, but that was... but yeah, it's really against rogue, and it's pretty solid against Virtual World, which, of course, Calamities doesn't really matter, but it's still a combo deck that you'd rather not have. You'd rather them not have a board, right? And then double Gamma Seal, and then the one Kumongous. Same idea with droplets. Like, it's really to stop Dragoon, and then, you know, they have ultimateness. Nice board. Be a damn shame if something happened to it. Yeah, so that's the idea with these, and then obviously they're really easy to deal with. And then moving on, Summon Limit. So Summon Limit and Debunk, these kind of go hand in hand. You side in these 5 going first, and then against either Virtual World or Drytron. And that's what I really liked about the deck and the side deck. They are just both top meta contenders, right? And it was really good. And of course, Summon Limit is really good against any rogue deck as well. So you side this in, and then you would think it kind of conflicts with Max, and you know, say for example you have Starfire, you trigger Starfire, then you try and trigger Sanguine, and you conk, that kind of conflicts. But like, realistically, it doesn't come up, and Honestly, I wouldn't even know if it would come up. I never saw this in, in the tourney. And then debunk is just fucking insane, man. It takes away their resources. It's a negate that you don't have to deal with on any following turn. Like debunk's insane. Like I should have, honestly, I should have played 3 debunk and one, and sorry, 2 summon limit instead. Because even going second debunk is insane. Because like I said, right, your aim isn't to combo off. If they make a board, you can break it, and then debunk just solidifies that. And then ally of justice, right? Again, this deck is meant to make sure nobody has a graveyard, like, except for you, obviously. And then, yeah, you have this, your dancing needles, your Haqueros, they're not getting their graveyard, you know, unless you don't draw your cards, which unfortunately happened. But anyway, and then onto the extra deck. Now, probably way too much theory, like so much unnecessary theory and ideas went into the extra deck. Even though I was playing extravagance, but I spent way too much time on the extra deck. But you know, you do play triple max, and this card's just insane. If you resolve him for more than one, it gets insane. And even if you resolve him just for one, it's still crazy, right? Because, you know, say you have like calamities and no others, but you want Caspar, and everything's ending on a back. Or like even Dratron, they have the field spell, right? So you just get whatever musket you need. And then it gives you 2 muskets on board, so even if they attack over 1, your musket cards in hand are still live, right? Which is huge. And I actually played double Phoenix, kind of unorganized, but I played 2 Phoenix just because it's the best nightmare. And then, you know, you summon Max, summon a bunch of muskets, then make Phoenix, co-linked with Max, pop, draw. It gets insane. So yeah, obviously I played 2 because it was the best one, and you know, extravagance. And I played the one Hippo Shinigami. This guy's pretty sick. You know, like when you have a lot of little muskets, you summon this guy. It actually puts so much pressure. But the main reason I play it was, you know, say you have a musket and your opponent deals with it, and then, but you can't seem to draw another musket. Well, your other engine that supports the muskets, the outlet side, they're all lights. So you just link off in a Hippo Shinigami, and you can either just sit on land or you can crash into something, get a musket, normal the musket, and you keep going with your plays. It's sick. Then Unicorn and Cerberus, same idea, you know, Max just gives you a lot of free fodder. And then, you know, you just keep, Link climbing, right? Yeah, link climbing, just picking up part of the board. It's crazy. And then in Gearsu, like, this deck makes it so easy. Max, Colin, Phoenix, going in Gearsu, that you just, one card breaks boards. Like, it's insane. And then I played a little package, I guess you can call it. So it's Induck, Win, and fucking Forever Do It. Yeah, there you go. Chosvalg, pretty sick card, right? So I used to play Link Spider, right? But then Induck essentially fulfills the same role. It's kind of awkward that the arrow's up, but it's kind of like Relinquished Anima. But, you know, instead of targeting, it destroys. And then you kind of have to waste your battle phase. But anyway, that's besides the point. That's not what you play. The reason you play him is against Virtual World, you summon Induck, use anything else to summon Win. Win takes either Lulu or Nyan Nyan, whatever they got, then use those to go into Swaggle, which is a sick card, right? Because you just, another card that just starts taking away cards from the graveyard. It's really cool, you know? They have Nyan Nyan. Be damn shame if something happened to it. And also, you know, it can be a beat stick, right? 4,800, possible 4,800 attacks, pretty good, especially in a control deck. That's always huge. And then the second, you know, kind of package, actually like package, I don't even know where, like the Water Xyz package, I suppose. So like I said, Dragoon is a huge fucking thing to deal with. And the idea with this, right, is if you had Conquistador Haquero and your opponent goes Dragoon and attack, go, well, how am I supposed to deal with this, right? I don't have droplets, my Kaijus are in my side deck, what am I gonna do? And so, on end phase, you flip up both Conk and Haquero, and obviously no reasonable man with a brain would negate that with Dragoon. Then again, they are playing Dragoon Turbo. But anyway, right? Nobody realistically would negate those 2 cards are not doing anything. And you think about, yeah, sure, some play these. What are you gonna do? Target my Dragoon? Yeah, okay, right? So you summon those 2, then you summon your Valiant Shark Lancer. Now this card has an effect. I don't care about it. It's a worse Pleiades essentially. The reason you summon him is to summon your Crystal Zero. Now this is a sick card, so it gains 500 for every material attached to it. So on summon it's going to be bigger than Dragoon, and then it has an effect. You can detach to negate everything. So, say you did something like an extra at the beginning of your turn. Obviously, that's the kind of card you negate with Dragoon. And then you can do this, so now Dragoon can be targeted and destroyed. But the real reason is just it's bigger. It's bigger than Dragoon, right? That like with no investment, it's just bigger. And then most of the variants that summon Dragoon, right, are something like what they call Eldritch Dragoon variants, right? So what they would do is probably something like Conquistador with a Sanguine follow-up, right? So when they go to pop it, has an effect. It can protect itself by detaching one. And the thing is, it does rely on materials to gain attack. But because you kept stacking, even if you detach the one to protect it from destruction, it's still like 200, I believe, over Dragoon. So you can still beat it. Like it's insane, right? And then even if they have Wyvern, guess what? You play a deck that just banishes everything from the graveyard. It's insane. And then the one play these, I was playing 3, but it got replaced by these, obviously, because you want to address problems the deck has, not cool cards that might come up. And then, then you have play these, just kind of just bounce it away. Obviously, I mentioned I was playing against Shadal's. This is pretty good. But yeah, I guess I'll give a quick rundown of what it played. So round 1, I played against Eldritch Evil Twin. Not much to say. Like I 2-0'd him, obviously. Yeah, like at one point I have 5 musket spell and traps in my hand, and I just for the life of me couldn't draw a musket monster. Like even at the start of the game, it's not like he dealt with it. No, I just couldn't draw one. And then by the time I drew one, like it was just Lord poking for damage, and it didn't even matter. And then round 2, round 2 is when I play against Shadal. Yeah, I kind of one game 1. I just barely managed to win. I pulled the victory out of my ass. And then game 2, he just overwhelmed me with advantage. Game 3, he ended up taking that one. Yeah, it was in time too, and it was his last turn to attack, and he managed to OTK too. Like it was crazy. But at the end, he goes, "Yo, like I had to draw a very specific combination of cards to win." And here's what he goes. He goes, "I should not have won. You should have won that, like 100%. Like I just completely sacked you." Now, if you're ever on the end where you're the one who sacked someone, don't tell them that you just, yeah man, like I did not deserve to win that one. You completely outplayed me and outskilled me, but I used RNG to win. Like no, both parties know what's happening. Like it's part of the game. Like like as the player who lost you, like you have to accept and learn. Like that's part of the game. That's gonna happen. But if you're the one who sacked, don't. Like, obviously, over DB texting, like, is different. I'm sure he meant nothing by it. But still, And then round 3, I played against Virtual World. And then, yeah, I fucking lost that one too. Yeah, it was rough, It was funny too, because I had Nibiru in my hand in game 3, and he made 4 summons. Like I drew Nibiru for turn, by the way, right? And when I passed to him, right, he goes 4 summons in battle phase, and I'm looking at it, and he had a very specific combination of cards. He played around Nib without even knowing about it. Gotta love it, right? Yeah, I lost that one. And then so we're X2 after round 3. Love to see it. And then round 4, our opponents didn't show up. No, that's what you really do love to see. So I was a free win. And then round 5, play against Drytron. And game 3, I don't know. Honestly, it could have been either way. Because my teammates lost, and I could have played through it, and I was like, but I don't know. I was just thinking, like, fuck, whatever, man. I don't want to deal with it. Like, I was just cheese. We were X2 and 3, but whatever happens, So I took a rogue deck, right, with Eldritch. I had some theory and ideas to implement. Didn't work out obviously in my favor, but that's just part of the game. You live and learn, right? Like, the most important part is to learn from your mistakes and understand that, sometimes, and like, even when games are seemingly out of your control, maybe in terms of deck building, could have done something different, right? Like there's just a lot of elements to analyze. Um, but yeah, that's the deck. You know, I just thought it was a really cool build. Wanted to share it, and then yeah, hopefully some of the ideas that I brought up in this video, you guys can implement in your own rogue deck building in the future. And man, this thing makes me look like a real Yu-Gi-Oh player, right? But yeah, you know, hope you guys enjoyed. It was a really cool deck. Again, shoutouts to my team, the Ponchiks. Shoutouts to Alessandro and Ben. And yeah, see you guys in the next one.